Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snapcraft Office Hours number 6. Can you believe we got to number 6 already? Welcome. I'm Alan Pope. I work on the Snapcraft team, and with me is Sergio. Hi, Sergio. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm also part of the Snapcraft team.
Super. So before we start, just a brief introduction. We do this usually every other week, but we've had a couple in a row because we've changed the schedule around. More about why that is in a moment. If you want to follow us and find out when the next one of these will be, you can follow us either on YouTube, youtube.com/snapcraft.io, or you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/snapcraft.io. We're also on Facebook and Google Plus as well, and you can get all the notifications when we go live, usually on a Friday at 3 o'clock UTC, which is the time now. And this week we've got a couple of demos that Sergio's got, and I think I should probably mention why my background is a little bit different. I'm in our London canonical office, so you can probably see the orange Ubuntu logos down the back wall down there. And behind you is members of the desktop team doing some work on the Ubuntu desktop release that's coming up in October this year. And last week we had a slightly different session because Sergio was away, and so was Lee, I believe. You were in UbuCon LA, that's right, isn't it?
Yes, both of us were, Leo and myself, were at UbuCon LA. It was a Spanish-speaking event. It was all live streamed through Ubuntu on Air. So even if you weren't there, you can also just take a look at Ubuntu on Air on YouTube and rewatch the channels. I also have a blog post out. I think it might go out tomorrow. So for a nice weekend read, if you want to catch up on what went on there. The blog post is in English, but all the videos, of course, are in Spanish. It was a nice event, a bunch of community participation. Of course, my background was the Snappy ecosystem. So I spoke about Snapcraft. Leo spoke about Snapcraft as well. And we had a nice, interesting group of people engaging with us. We had a workshop for people to build snaps, a basic each users as a developer, and how users can also benefit from using snaps. That was my main topic, and Leo discussed how community contributions have evolved with this new world order of distributing software. It was interesting. We had a bunch of people wanted to contribute and offer translations, for example, and like for the tutorials, they're all in English now. And we had one person at least say, "I want to translate these. Where should I go?" So he's really interested in that. And other people like looking for solutions around snaps, which is what I found interesting myself, which you could read about in the blog post as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and where's that going to be published? Is it on the insights.ubuntu.com, or is it your blog or somewhere else?
Well, I already published it on my blog, but I don't make much noise about it. Mine is basically blog.sergisons.org, but it might go on Insights or tweeted and all the social stuff tomorrow.
Cool. And I should mention actually that you guys all hang out on Rocket Chat. So if any of you want to ask any questions, then I'd recommend you do that in Rocket Chat. If you go to rocket.ubuntu.com, there's a Snapcraft channel there. You can also get help and support on the Snapcraft forum. It's pretty active. If you go to forum.snapcraft.io, there's a lot of discussion there. Both the developers of Snapcraft and Snapd are there, and loads of community people who are having conversations about the direction of Snaps and Snapcraft and making suggestions. And yeah, it's lots of healthy discussion going on there, and people asking for support and all that kind of stuff. It's a good place to go for questions. So right, you had a couple of demos. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I just wanted to add one tiny thing. We've been doing weekly summaries every week and posting them to the forums. Recently, we just started adding them to Insights. So if the flow of conversation is just too much and you just want to get a summary, well, and get the gist of what happened during the week.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It can be a bit relentless on the forums. You can, go away for a few days and then come back and find there's like loads of posts. But it's quite nice because it's discourse. It's very easy to just pick the topics that you're interested in, which is quite nice. But yeah, I like the summaries as well. They're really good. So you had a couple of demos you wanted to talk about. We've talked about snapping different types of applications. We've talked about Python. We've talked about Node. We've talked about all kinds of different things. But you've got something new and different for us today.
So today we're going to talk about Rust. We're going to give Rust some love. I think it's mostly backed by Mozilla, if not under the Mozilla umbrella. It's an interesting language. I've played with it a bit. One of the demos I'm going to a quick to see how fast Rust was compared to. It's pretty functional, and is basically a terminal app. GPU accelerated, and introduces the topic of classic environment a bit more. Show you what that implies in the end. Basically, we have a Rust plugin in Snapcraft that takes care of all the hefting of Rust itself. It basically fetches Rust from an upstream tool called Rust Up, sets up the whole environment, downloads Rust, sets up the tool chain, and basically build any Rust project you want. In the case of Rust, we have support for cross-compilation. As long as you don't use stage packages, you can cross-compile anything using Rust. So if you have like something targeting ARM, you can basically just say snapcraft -- target arch equals armhf, and it will do the right thing to build an armhf snap.
So can I rewind
the first time
there?
You run,
you broke up a little bit there, so I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. You're saying that the Rust plugin allows you to build Rust applications, and it can do cross-compile all built in. I don't need to have like a cluster of Raspberry Pis or something if I want to build ARMHF. I can just Snapcraft and then -- target arch ARMHF, and it will do some magic and spit out an ARM snap. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. All through your AMD64 host, which is what I guess most people run these days, unless you're on a Chromebook.
Right.
There's one minor thing I want to add about my environment. I'm also using a feature in Snapcraft that's hidden behind a feature flag, which is per project containers. So where were we? Sorry about that.
So where we were was you explained that we've now got a Rust plugin and we can build on different architectures. But you also said there was a feature flag. There was a feature in Snapcraft that's hidden behind a flag that I guess is not very well publicly known right now, but it gives you per application containers. What's that about?
Yes, so it's Snapcraft _container_ builds, all uppercase. You export that in the environment, and what happens is when you run Snapcraft on a project, it creates a container for that project and basically proxies all the Snapcraft commands into the container, and you can see so all the parts that are built on the container, but you get to see them on your host. So it should feel like you're working natively. And the reason I do this particularly is, well, I don't want to install all these build tools on my host just for random builds. The other thing is, since we have a Xenial base for now, as called the core snap regularly, it's transforming into base snaps. So the only base snap we have now is Xenial, and I'm on Artful on my laptop. So I use these container builds so that I get the proper base environment to build. It's kind of like clean build, but you can iterate.
And are you saying that you get a container and that container is kept? It's not thrown away like you do with clean build?
Exactly. It's
right.
So okay. The container is kept, and all that is kind of like implementation detail. but
Right.
it is kept. All the cached stuff is kept in the container as well. So as you rerun, it will basically restart the container and run the build or whatever you told Snapcraft to do.
Okay, cool. So you said you had a demo. Are you able to share your screen?
Oh yeah, certainly. I'm going to share my entire screen. So, is the screen seen? I think so.
Yep, I see
Great.
your screen.
So I wrote this command not found a while back to basically learn Rust real fast and get to know it. And it's basically command not found, and command not found is what you get on Ubuntu, at least when you run a command and you don't have it, and it tells you to get this command, apt install this package, and then you'll get the command.
Right.
So I did a couple of speed tests. The current command not found, aside from being very, very big in what it does, for certain legacy reasons I can't fathom why. It's also written in Python, so the uptime for it to start is a lot higher than that's running the command not found that you can get in Ubuntu today. Those are the times, and this is the Rust implementation I basically wrote.
Nice.
So it depends on the database that comes with command not found, and I'll show you how to I'll set that up in the snap so it really works. If we want to run command not found, I can basically say, so I already installed the snap, but it's command not found, and I can say bash, for example. It's just that's basically the result, right? If you don't have bash,
Right.
if you didn't have bash, it would basically print that out. And same thing for and CDU, I think I had there, or whatever other package. And that's basically command not found. So if you can see, I'm not cheating. Command not found is run from the snap, and I have
Awesome. Okay, so you've already built a snap of this thing. It's already installed. You wrote it in Rust as a demo to learn Rust and prove that it's faster than the current implementation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, the sources are there. You can see it later if you want.
Okay.
The basics of command not found, to get command not found in a snap, is basically, this is the Snapcraft YAML for it. As you can see, I wrote this Snapcraft YAML today. It took me 5 minutes, maybe 10, just to write the description and summary, to think about this. But basically, I give it a name as usual, the version, all this metadata. This is a strict snap. It works completely offline. I don't need anything. I don't need any plugs, anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I did on purpose here. I call this part CNF because I've seen people confuse the part name with the actual snap name. So I'm purposely naming the part differently. CNF,
right?
For command not found.
Because the part can be called anything you like, right?
Yes, it's a developer thing, and the developer basically picks what they want to call the parts. So then they can just do Snapcraft build this part name, and they can just, instead of calling Snapcraft as one single thing, you can fine tune everything. And this is a name tag to chain builds as well. So I just say plugin Rust. Yes, Ellen, you were going to ask something?
No, go on.
Oh, I heard you gasp. So I said plugin Rust, and then that will just build command not found as is. These two lines. These two lines, plugin and source, would just build the command not found binary, and that'd be great. The only problem is I don't have a database of what command corresponds to what package. So I'm just piggybacking on what's already in the archives, which is in this stage package, command not found data. And I also installed libgbm gdbm3, which is basically the database that is in command not found.
So your snap is going to, when this is finished, it's going to contain your command not found executable and one library and some data that came from the archive at the Python version of command not found, right? So there's not a lot in this snap.
No, there's not a lot, and I can probably get away with this with a native implementation of GDBM3 in Rust, but it's binding to the C libraries.
Right.
As you can see, well, Rust has its own implementation of like dependencies, and it has this registry, just like all the new fancy languages that exist. So when you build using the cargo tool, if you build manually, you basically look into a TOML file, which and a log file that has like all the dependencies you need, and the tooling would just do the right thing. The only thing I did here, just because I wanted to, was so command not found data unpacks the database in user share command not found, and I chose to relocate that to data. So at the root of the snap, I'll have a data directory, which has the contents of this directory, which was originally unpacked.
Right. And then you've got an app section,
yes,
which points to that location. Right.
Exactly. So so in command not found, I added this flag data dir to basically say where the databases are, and I made it point to, well, the root of the snap /data. So
right.
It picks up the database.
So when you run this, is there like a particular version of the Rust compiler? It's like Rust C or whatever it's called, the Rust compiler. In some of the plugins, you can specify like the version of Python you're going to use, or you can specify the version of Node you're going to use. How does it know what version of the Rust compiler to use? This is not the first time you've answered me by showing me the online help for Snapcraft, by the way.
Right. So I was going to go into this next, right? So anyway, so
okay,
all the plugins have help in them and have special attributes. So if I go back to the YAML per se, source is a Snapcraft core primitive. This plugin entry is a core primitive, as well as stage packages, build packages, organized. I'm not using any plugin specific toggle here, which would change the behavior of the plugin somewhat. And to do that, I have basically this help here, which is, so I have these plugin specific attributes that I can set if I wanted to. And one of those is like Rust channel. Rust has specific channels you can subscribe to if you want to try the latest Rust tool chain. You can just go to beta or nightly. We have Rust revision. So you can basically set the version you want to, which answers Alan's question. And Rust features is basically something specific to the tool chain where you can enable specific features for Rust.
Awesome.
So if you know Rust as a tool chain, these entries should feel at home for you.
Awesome.
Okay, so if I were to build this, I have the logs for the full build here, so no worries. As I said, I'm using the container per project containers. So you can see here, I run Snapcraft, and what I get is basically I have a Snapcraft -command not found container. As you can see, this is a rerun, so I did not have to recreate the container. It's already there. It did not get destroyed at the end of the build. It just gets stopped. I get like network detection for the container, and then I get updates because it's not like your host. The container goes stale if you run it like infrequently. So we want to update it for running.
Right.
And well, get all the update cycle. Got the build dependencies installed, which some are from the plugin, some are from the build packages I set. And then, well, I already ran this build, so I just get the usual output from a build that's already run from Snapcraft. This is all proxied. So I just get the pull has already run, the build has already run, stage has already run, prime has already run. I get snapping command not found, and at the end, snap command not found. And as you can see here, the container has been stopped. So if I do,
but the contents of the container is kept, so it's not thrown away; it's just stopped, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So if I look here, I have. So I even have. It's not like clean build. I have parts with the whole build here. It's all exposed. I can see. I can actually inspect things and what went on. So there's command not found. And the prime directory is, of course, what will be snapped. It's already there. Here I can see that I have my prime bin with command not found in it. And I also have prime data, as I mentioned earlier, which has the.
So for anyone who's done like a Snapcraft clean build, this is a good advantage, because with clean build, it throws away the container, and then if you want to debug the build process, it's a bit of a pain, because you've got to redo it and do --debug or something, or build it on your local machine. Yeah, both of which are disadvantages. So this is fantastic. Is this being able to keep containers, is this something that's in the latest version of Snapcraft? Do I have to get Snapcraft from the Edge channel, or is it a supported feature?
This is already in the latest Snapcrafts. We don't. The idea is to remove the feature flag and make it the main way to build for people. We just need to iron out a couple of things, like the first setup experience for LexD, which is LexD behind the scenes. So if I do LexD list here, oops, LexD is broken. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not going to go into it. But if I do LexD list, I'll see all my containers there. We do have some work to iron out how that is going to clean up by itself, so you don't have all these containers lying around at the end. So if you're not using ZFS, you might have issues because of the space usage. And there's, the first experience for setting up LexD, the LexD init and all that mumbo jumbo. And then there's the last thing is we want to improve the speed. So right now we update as soon as you sorry about that. We update as soon as you start the container, and we want to have basically something like a Snapcraft refresh command, which refreshes the project. So basically refreshes the container, so it updates the parts cache, the app cache, and everything else. And why do we want this to be the default? So then you can run on any system and build with the appropriate base. In the future, we're going to add a new entry to snapcraft.yaml, which is base, and you'll say Xenial, or Ubuntu-Xenial, or Ubuntu-16, maybe is the right name, and it will build that snap with the appropriate base that was intended for that project. You can say Solus, and it will grab the right Solus, or Fedora 26, and it will grab Fedora 26 and build there, so you'll have a snap targeting that base as it was intended by the creator.
This is one stepping stone on the way towards that. There are other things that need to happen before bases become a thing, I guess. But
before bases as a full thing, yes, become a thing. There's other things that need to happen first. But that's sort of orthogonal to why we're doing this as well. We want on any system, you should be able to build with the base 16 backend, basically. So if I'm on Elementary, for example, or Fedora, let's use it, and I have Snapcraft installed and I have LexD set up, I can export this variable, run Snapcraft, and it will feel like I'm on my normal environment, and I can just develop using the tools that are native to me, and then run Snapcraft, which would be natively installed, and it will feel as everything were at home. That's basically the idea.
Excellent. Okay. Should we move on?
Yes. Okay, so next I have Alacrity, T for TTY, basically. This is a GPU accelerated terminal. It's pretty fast. If I have it installed here as well, so if I open it up, it just works really fast. There's a gotcha. So this is the actual snap. The gotcha is that you don't have like menus or anything to configure. You have to go into a YAML, I think it was, and set it up. That's all in. That's somewhere in here. Yeah. So it's in Snap, Alacrity, current.
So for those people who are looking at this and thinking this is just yet another terminal, I think the big selling point of this is because it's GPU accelerated. It's ridiculously fast update, and part of the problem with showing that on this Hangout is you won't see like the screen update super fast because we're doing this over a video Hangout and the frame rate is not fantastic. But I have tried this Snap on my machine, and side by side, if you have GNOME Terminal and Alacrity next to each other, if you just do something like a long running operation which spits out a lot of dialogue, like if you ran find in the root file system or in your home directory, the content whizzes past relatively quickly. But in Alacrity, it is super smooth and flies by. It just looks a lot smoother and refreshes the window a lot faster than traditional terminals. It feels very jerky when you go back to a normal terminal. It feels very jerky compared to Alacrity. So
Indeed,
yeah,
it does.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, if you want to install it, this is already in the store. It's just sudo snap install alacrity --edge --classic away. And it's been published by one of our colleagues at Canonical. But that said, if you go to the Alacrity project, you'll see that it already has a snapcraft.yaml in there, contributed by the exact person that published the snap on the store. I guess There's just one more knob to turn, which is basically enabling continuous delivery /CI through build snapcraft.io maybe. So if you look at that YAML, we'll see something interesting here, which is basically this word classic here. Mm-hmm. And classic has a couple of connotations to it. If you want to think of it simply, it's kind of like in Solaris, if you remember Solaris, where they had this like the GNU tools in this directory and the BSD tools in this directory and the POSIX tools in this directory, and they're all RPath and linked, and they all interoperated with them transparently and native to the system. Well, Classic is kind of like that. It uses a base. It does use a base, so it does depend on the core snap. But everything is, I don't want to say hard linked, but it's kind of like hard linked through the loading mechanisms to specific directories only. And it also is, the implications is that at the end you also get the dynamic linker loader set to a specific loader inside the base you are choosing. In this case, the core snap is the only one, and so it's the linker that's in the core snap that actually does all the library loading. And why is this? It's because the idea of Classic is that Classic Snap should see the native system on the host. And of course, if you just compile as usual, you will have the resulting application in the snap try to load libraries that are on your host system, which is wrong or can lead to confusion and make you think that everything is working, but then when you go to a different system, it was working on your system because you had libraries loaded, installed, that were not installed on the next user's system. So then you see all these missing library things. And so one way to solve this is basically restricting where you can find libraries. And well, that makes you certain that everything will work as expected, of course.
Right. And the byproduct of this is classic snaps are not confined in the same way that strictly confined snaps are confined, right?
Exactly. Classic snaps are not confined at all. It feels like a PPA in some sense, except that you don't need to do as much steps as a user to get the actual application.
Right. So the net result is you're running, arbitrary application that's not confined, but it all comes from one place, the store.
Right. So if you try to install Alacrity TTY without doing -- classic, and I encourage you to try it, you'll see this big banner message telling you that you need to add -- classic and what the implications are.
Right. And so this is another Rust application, but this is slightly different in that it's a graphical Rust application rather than a little command line utility like your command not found, right? So there's a few extra things you've added here.
Yes. So aside from stage packages and build packages, or just dependencies for the build, this has basically a plugin Rust, and it just builds. And then there's this desktop file, which uses the dump plugin, which we have been seeing in the last open hours a lot lately. So I don't think we need to go into details of what it does, but it basically just dumps what's in the source into its part installation path. And this dump thing only is used here to get the Alacrity TTY desktop file inside the snap.
Gotcha.
So aside from the command, which has been written like this, you basically have the a desktop entry, the desktop file, which is what makes me able to see this icon here and this through this desktop file.
Right. So your command line application didn't need that because it's not a desktop application, but your desktop applications need this .desktop file, so they show up in your distribution desktop menu or whatever.
Yes. And if we go into the bit bigger, into the actual project, I just run Snapcraft. Again, I'm using container build. So I have this again this container assigned to this project, and it doesn't get destroyed as long as I don't clean up. Usual boilerplate text here. Well, process, which is updating and installing the required dependencies. The build packages. We go down, and here's a special thing. So the container does not have the core snap in there, and we need it. And why do we need it? It's because we want to use the linker that is the dynamic linker loader that's in the core snap. So we download it. So at link time, we can actually link and set it up. So then just unpacks the core snap there, and oh, I already built this. Interesting. I thought I was going to start from scratch. So in the end, it just does a pull, a build, a stage, prime, and again for the desktop file, the same thing. The thing to take notice here is during build, what will happen is Snapcraft will set a couple of environment variables to actually force those R paths and the dynamic linker loader. And how do you verify this is the case? Well, I ran.
Wow.
Let me just bring bigger. I ran readelf against the actual resulting binary for Alacrity, which is that. I pipe it to less so you don't get scrolling. And well, this is like all the elf headers. So there's a couple of ones that interest me. First is interpreter. So now you see that the interpreter is fixed to this. So if you ever wonder why classic snaps require the /snap, well, this is the reason why we require /snap to be available for classic snaps, because the linker loader is locked down to, so the program interpreter, in case how Readout prints it out, is locked down to that linker loader.
Right. So on systems where you want to install a core snap, install a classic snap, if you don't have that core snap located at that location, then the classic snap won't run, right?
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
And the other thing we do is we set these R paths. So these R paths are common ones corresponding to basically what you find inside a snap, and also the ones that you would find inside the core. So to be able to load things from the core instead of the host, dependent libraries for that base, basically. And the other interesting thing, is that we disable. Oh, Kyle is trying to help, and he's. The other thing is that we disable LD library path and loading from stuff that is not in the R path. So we have a sane environment for classic snaps, and so we don't get confused with what's on the host.
Right. Kyle being useful as ever. So
Yes.
it is actually super useful. What Kyle was mentioning there is that, like what we mentioned just now, is that on some Linux distributions where snaps are available, they, for whatever reason, policy or whatever reason, they don't have a /snap directory off the root file system, and so you can fix that in order to make these classic snaps work, right, by symlinking that to another place on the file system. Is that right? Where the core snap really is.
Yes. So if you're on an environment that, I think it's Fedora and Arch, maybe OpenSUSE as well, if you just create that symlink, it could just work.
Right. Awesome.
Maybe, so it could, but I think Snapd does not does a more restrictive check on if you're allowed to run classic snaps on that environment. So might not be in the current releases, but it should be in the future ones.
Excellent. That's really cool. Oh, so you've already run Alacrity, haven't you? So we've seen it actually running.
Yeah, I can actually do which Alacrity. It's there in Snap, and I can also run it from here, and there it is.
Sweet. Awesome. And that, if people want to try it out, it's in the store in the Edge channel, and it's you install it with -- classic. And if you find any bugs or interesting weirdnesses, then I guess given that the snap is being built from upstream, then file an issue upstream or mention it on the Snapcraft forum.
Great, and I think that's all I had to share. So
excellent. Well, that's great. So thanks for that, Sergio, and sorry about your connectivity issues there. We'll be back with another one of these Snapcraft office hours very soon. Usually they happen on Fridays at 1500 UTC. You can find out when the next one will be by subscribing to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/snapcraftio, or follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/snapcraftio. Anything else you wanted to mention, Sergio?
I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about, but if you want to try something, well, let me just share again. Actually, I have one minor thing. Entire screen. So if you want to play a bit with cross compilation, you can try on this command not found. You can try running Snapcraft, target, Arch, ARMHF like that, and see if you actually get a working snap.
So you should be able to build ARMHF, but also I guess you could build an i386 snap as well using that same method, right?
Yeah, or ARP64, or.
And so it has to just be a supported architecture in the Ubuntu archive, right?
Yes, we're using the architecture name tags from Ubuntu/Debian to define what the architecture is. The machine architecture, of course, will correspond to whatever those name tags are.
Sweet. Cool. I look forward to trying that myself, actually, because it'll be, I assume, a lot faster to build on my AMD 64 laptop doing that than trying to build on a very small Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and just to get the variable out, there's a Snapcraft container build equals 1, and then you start using container builds for everything.
Awesome. I think what we'll do is we'll ramp some of these little nuggets into smaller little videos that we'll also put out on the Snapcraft channel over the coming week. So we'll mention shorter, like 1-2 minute video on doing Rust building in containers, building on for other architectures, and classic snaps as well. I think we'll put out a bunch of those short videos, so you can look forward to those rather than listening to us talk for, an hour. You can get it all concise in a short video.
Yeah, I think we will have the container builds very, very polished by the end of this development cycle, which follows the Ubuntu development cycle. So by 17, yeah, this is year 1710, we will basically expose this to the wider audience. But we would appreciate people trying it out too and reporting issues.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks very much again, Sergio, and thanks everyone for watching, and have a great weekend. And we'll see you next time on Snapcraft Office Hours. See you later.
Bye.